And we're live. Yes. What's up, y'all? Thank you for joining us. I am Kwame Norval, and this is my partner in crime over here, Kamali Rose from Radical Democracy. You've tuned into Raised Fist Media, episode 7. We're not going to say too much. We're going to get right into it because it's a pretty wild topic tonight. First, we just want to thank you guys for being here. If this is your first time, welcome, and definitely look below, hit up a like button for us. If you're here, definitely comment and share this out. We'd really appreciate that. We got FL in the building, one of our friends.
What's up, FL? What's up?
Democracy over here.
Great to see you,
joining us. He says, looking forward to the commentary. Dope topic. Yeah, this is if
watch
we
your
were
gendering.
Money,
they say you don't assume here.
Correct. My bad.
Yeah.
If anyone had bet me money that we would be doing this video right now, I would be losing a lot of money right now because man. So we're not gonna mess around too long. We're gonna get right into it. We're gonna
real quick before we start. Twitch is blocking the title of this video for some reason for me. Tammy, if you can try to fix the title of the video for Twitch. I tried removing the whole Raised Fist Media off of it. It's not that. I tried changing foolishness to nonsense. I don't know if it's the pro cop, the anti-black. I don't know what the hell Twitch is blocking the title for. But Tammy, if you can correct that, we can't go live on Twitch until that's corrected. But whatever, we're live on YouTube at least, and that's where we'll, I guess we can focus there. But yeah, so NFL says yes, they use they, so perfect. Glad we get that right.
Thank you.
So all right, let's get sorry for that little hold up there. If hopefully we can get this thing going live on Twitch.
Sorry about that, Twitch users.
Yep. But yeah, so what do we got today?
So today we are gonna, we're gonna talk about our friend Lupe Fiasco. One of the just to give a quick bit of context for why this is going to be a very interesting and somewhat difficult episode. Lupe Fiasco is a pretty dope rapper. I would say one of the best. I grew up listening to a lot of his music and informed a lot of the views I had based on when I grew up listening to it. So I can't, it would be a disservice to make this video without first stating just how much if you've joined us on Radical Democracy at all, you've seen Kamali quote him numerous times on his show as well. So you already know just how much he has impacted us.
Yeah, I mean, he's literally my favorite rapper. Like nobody comes close to me. He is my favorite rapper. Even after all of this nonsense, we'll hear after all of this how I feel about him after we go through all of this today. But he has been my favorite rapper for a long time. I think lyrically, he's just so he in his rap style is a very conscious type rap. It's a more
I think they call him a backpack rapper is what they refer to a lot of that style as, kind of like it's in the wheelhouse of I don't know, he's a little bit more unique because he actually made it bigger than a lot of people who usually do the kind of content that he does.
Yeah, and if you're listening to this and you haven't heard a Lupe track, like do yourself a favor. We can't play any on the show, unfortunately, because we'll be we'll get copyright claims put against us and the video will get blocked. So we can't play any of his music. We'll go through some of his lyrics today, but definitely check out some of his songs. Something I recommend is Words I Never Said is a great one from a political perspective. Words I Never Said is great. I think The Show Goes On is great. Superstar is great. These are all like classics and just songs. Bitch Bad. These are all songs with great messages. He's had empowering messages in his music, and usually a pro-black messaging, pro working class, left-wing messaging in his recent album Drogas Wave. It was completely themed around a slave ship traveling from it's traveling from Africa to the Americas, and it in that slave ship, the theme of the album is that slave ship sinks, and then you know, these people are, instead of having to go into that life of you know, captivity and misery that was to follow for, and you know, American, you know, slaves and descendants of slaves, then instead they sort of, their ship sinks, and these people still survive. They kind of build like a new Black Atlantis, essentially, is the theme of the you know, album. And he even, in some of the, you know, in a line of the song, he says, you know, my new return is a due return into socialism. Like he's you know, he's saying messages of like left-wing socialist messaging. Yeah. And so it really hurts my soul. And that's a Lupe reference. Hurt Me Soul, in fact, is a Lupe track, but it hurts my soul. It hurt me soul, Lupe, to hear some of what he was saying here. So
yeah, it's very, man, Food and Liquor is, it's an album, man. It's the album, maybe. I think like Food and Liquor is just that whole album.
Yeah. Yeah. FL said to rap your favorite verses from him. It won't be copyright. It's a cover. Kwame could definitely handle that. I could not handle that, but Kwame could definitely handle that. I will say some of my favorite lyrics of his real quick, which is, and I've quoted this on the show before, but he said, Limbaugh is a racist. Glenn Beck is a racist. Gaza Strip was getting bombed. Obama didn't say shit. That's why I ain't vote for him. Next one either. I'm a part of the problem. My problem is I'm peaceful and I believe in the people. And that's on the track. That's on the track. Words I Never Said. And I highly recommend it to everyone. The video's great. The song's great. Check it out. Great political messaging. And that's a day in the life for, you know, his everything. You listen to anything, pick up and listen to anything by Lupe, and if you don't hear something that moves you, it probably means you just haven't listened hard enough yet. Yeah. So a
lot of his songs are like, some of his songs, when you listen to the album, some of them you will not get the meaning of until later, unless you look at it. Maybe it's different now because you can just Google that shit, and people talked about it. Like he has songs that, depending on how pissed I am after this shit, I would love to break down, because they tackle real shit, and a lot of them are like super deep metaphors the way he writes them, you know.
Mural, if you listen to Mural, daydreaming, you know, like where he's daydreaming about you know, this you know, as I spy from behind my giant robot's eyes, I hopped out. Damn it, Lupe. Why'd you have to
I guess we should maybe get into the topic here.
Yes.
If not, we're gonna sit here and gush about.
Yes, we could
all night. So, we really could. That's how upsetting it is.
Yes. But so that and that's a great, you know, so absolutely. So just to say, we just want to make clear, you know, we come from a position of having respected him throughout the entirety of his career. And he's had a long career, and we have been listening to Lupe since Kick Push, you know, debuted in Food and Liquor back, like, it's got to be at least 10
F&F,
you know, over 10 years ago now. So we've been, you know, avid Lupe fans. And so this comes from a place of having held him in very high regards, and just keep that in mind as we go through this. So what we're going to be listening to today is a segment from one of his episodes on his new podcast. He has a new podcast with Royce the 5'9", fellow, you know, another rapper he's from Detroit, Michigan, and, you know, is sort of in the Eminem.
He was in Slaughterhouse.
Slaughterhouse.
A lot of people know him because he was with Eminem on Bad Meets Evil 1 and 2. They kind of came up together, and then they had their problems, and then they chilled, and they're really, really close friends.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so you got, Lupe Fiasco, he's from Chicago,
Royce the
and
5'9".
Royce the 5'9" from Detroit, and they do this podcast together, two fellow rappers do this podcast together now, and it's new. The first episode started airing around October 8th. A few episodes got released then. This was one of those episodes that got released in their first set of episodes, and the name of the title of the episode is Nino, as in Nino Brown from New Jack City. And so in this episode, the episode covers a range of topics from, Black Panther, the movie, to getting, packages delivered in the hood, to, onto the
hilarious.
Yes. And there's a lot of good stuff in there, recommend everyone check out the full episode. We'll put some links in the description for you. And so the episode goes on to touch on the topic of recent, issues of police brutality. And they get onto the topic of the Jacob Blake shooting. And so this is the sort of conversation that starts to flow from there. So the podcast includes it's Royce the 5'9" and Lupe Fiasco. And there's a third dude who's the producer of the show. I forget his name. It's like Thomas Frank, I think, or something. Yeah. And so not the Thomas Frank, but yeah. So it's Thomas Frank. And so in case you hear that third voice in there, but we'll try to clarify who's who here. And so we're going to be listening to the segment. It's a pretty long segment. I'll be real. The whole episode's about 40 minutes long. We're going to play less than half of that, I hope, but about 15 or 20 minutes of it we're going to play. But we're going to keep on. We're going to stop and go as we go through it, and kind of cut in, because you can't listen to this whole thing without losing your cool anyhow. So we're gonna jump in and debunk these claims as we go through, because Lupe is going to talk a lot of stuff in here that we need to address. So let's get to that. We're going to pull this up. And we're going to try some new things with the audio here to try to have the audio playing in the background for us, but we'll pull it up for a sec here. So this is going to start out with Royce the 5'9" talking, and then after Royce the 5'9" says his bit, then Lupe Fiasco is going to jump in with his response. I just wanted to give some context of where Lupe Fiasco starts jumping in with this. His rhetoric. So again, this is on the topic. They've been discussing the topic of Jacob Blake and that shooting, the protest that arose from it, but in particular the shooting of Jacob Blake, who was paralyzed in a shooting before the Kenosha, in Kenosha, Wisconsin. So, all right, let's take a listen here.
I just took a gun class because I'm getting my gun license. I just took the class last month, and the guidelines for which you can carry and for which you can use it is very similar to the same guidelines that the police officers have to adhere to. But the police officers are actually held to a much higher standard because they've actually been trained.
This is Royce.
Yeah. And it's like, you can't overkill somebody. You shoot to put the person down. You use excessive force to put him down, and that's it. You can't even shoot somebody in your house 8 times. They shot him 8 times, and they shot him in the back.
In the back.
Somebody comes in your house and you have a licensed firearm, and if they have Lupe Fiasco's VCR, and they're running out the door, Lupe Fiasco can't shoot him in the back to get his VCR back. Even if he has a knife hanging from his belt.
No, that's your interpretation of the law, which is one side of it. That's not what the law says. And that's definitely not what the law says about the police. And there's no difference whether they're running towards you, running away from you.
Sorry. Okay. So we're stopping because I'm sorry. I can't even let Lupe get like one sentence in without this dude said there is no difference whether the police if they shoot someone, whether that person is moving towards them or running away from them. Lupe just said. So he says it makes no difference whether a person, a suspect or whatever, is moving towards a police officer or running away from them. All right. I'll just tell you right now. I hope we don't need to say that is not the way that the laws work. Okay.
That's not
that
the
is
law.
You are not.
Yeah.
Somebody must be a reasonable threat. Okay. And you are not a reasonable threat if you are running away from a cop. Okay. If you are running away, you are no longer threatening that cop's life. You cannot be shot for running away from someone. Okay. Yeah. That's not justified. All right. But let's let Lupe continue here.
In the process of a felony and in action of a felony, and you are if somebody's in the process of a felony and in action of a felony, and you are the police officer, it's at their discretion to the amount of force that they use, but they're well within their bounds.
All right, let's stop again. So he says that, that if you're committing a felony, then it is the police officers are well within the bounds to use their discretion to shoot you dead. He's saying
that's not true.
It's just that here are some felonies, in Massachusetts, damaging property over $1,200 is considered a felony in Massachusetts. Okay. So if I break an iPhone, that's a felony in Massachusetts. Okay. It is a felony to sell drugs. It is a felony. It is a felony to commit welfare fraud. If you commit welfare fraud over a certain amount, that is a felony. The police do not have the authority. Needless to say, for anyone that's not 100% on this, the police do not have the authority to run up and shoot somebody because they're committing welfare fraud. Okay, so the act of committing a felony 100% does not justify the police shooting anyone. Okay, it doesn't justify police killing you. It damn sure does not justify the police shooting someone. So FL says, what you mean no difference if the person running toward or away from you? There's a difference. Running away means if you shot them, it's not self-defense. Exactly. Like, that's absurdity. Rebecca Williams says basically cops shouldn't have to run. This is like
absolutely absurd.
And FL says, why Lupe talking like I'm more intellectual than you? Wait, FL, because you were gonna see that theme throughout this damn thing.
This is like Ben Shapiro level debate. That's the only way I can describe it. It's the faux intellectual. I'm like, we'll hit play. We'll hit play.
You want all right? We'll keep going. You'll see more of that, FL. Trust me. You'll see more of this. I know, because we're gonna try to make it through this whole clip. I swear we are.
Oh boy.
Yeah, but you'll see more of this pseudo intellectualism from Lupe Fiasco all throughout.
To shoot someone in the back, in the chest, in the head, whatever it is, to stop someone that they feel is either on their way to get a weapon, has some type of an action of a felony, and you are the police officer, it's at their discretion to the amount of force that they use, but they're well within their bounds to shoot someone in the back, in the chest, in the head, whatever it is, to stop someone that they feel is either on their way to get a weapon, has some type of.
Hold on. He said the cops can shoot someone if they feel that somebody is on their way to go get a weapon.
That makes
in the back or in the head. He said,
I don't have to tell you how little sense that makes. That is complete and utter nonsense. That is garbage. It's not funny, but it's it's like such an it's pulled from thin air. I don't even know where one gets that from. Like what kind of fucking I don't even. Oh my god. It's he's just keep. I guess we'll go back. I don't know.
Let's go. All right.
Yeah, let's keep it going. We'll keep pushing.
Weapon that they can't see. They haven't properly searched this person, and it may be that this person has, like they said, admitted to having something. They just don't know where it is.
No, sorry, I can't let this go any further. I'm sorry. No, this dude really said that the cops, no, I really need to hit this point because this dude said that the cops have the authority to shoot somebody in the back or in the head if they believe that you are on the way in the act of going to get a weapon.
If you admit to having a gun, which it's supposed to be we're supposed to have rights to.
Absolutely, because it is not illegal. It does not mean that you are again, that is a perfect explanation. You have, if it's a legal gun that you say, I have a gun, I have a legal gun, like Philando Castile. We know what happened there. The cops did not have the right to shoot Philando Castile because he said I had a gun. When it's a legal gun, you can tell the cop that, if they think that, but to say that the cops in his first statement was, he said, that if they believe you are on the way to go get a weapon, then they have the right to shoot you in the back of the head. That means that all cops have to ever say is you don't even have to be wielding a gun. They no longer have to say, oh no, gun. They literally just need to say, I think he was going to get it. What? No state in this country is that the law, that the police have the discretion to say, oh, I think they were about to go get a weapon, and so I shot them before they could even go get the weapon. And if that's the law, we need to change the law. And that's the other point, is that if that is the law, Lupe Fiasco's argument should be the next thing out of his mouth better be, and therefore we must change that law because that is disgusting and should not be.
He wants to give them, like, this man has watched entirely too much Judge Dredd, and he just wants them to be able to go off and just, like, I don't know, like, this is out of control, absolutely out of control. He just wants to give them carte blanche and just allow them to have free reign and make. And he said all of this. Keep in mind, all of this he said at their discretion.
Yes, exactly.
How powerful a statement in turn that is when we're talking about the intent to kill someone. Like
that's absurd. That is absurd, is what that is. FL says, I'm so confused by Lupe right now. Like, is this Lupe for real? Lupe, cough twice if you're being held hostage or something. Yeah, like, seriously, dude. Right? Like, what is this? All right, so let's keep it going. Let's keep this going. All right.
Right. So that's what the law says, and that's been going back. That's from law that I read from 1950, right? And it was the different circumstances in which you can use that force in a misdemeanor situation and in a felony situation. And it changes. And it all comes down to the discretion of the officer in that period of time, because the officer is the officer and the suspect are the only ones who know that situation the most. Nobody else knows. The judge doesn't know. The DA doesn't know. The protesters don't know. The people who are fully informed and fully experts about those situations are the people that are directly involved with it, right? Not the dude with one camera angle from over here, another dude from camera angle over there, because all of the camera angles show that one specific perspective. But none of those camera angles show the police's state of mind, that person's state of mind, how the police officer read the situation, how the person was responding to the situation. So I have police officers in my family.
Here we go.
My sister's a police officer. My two brothers are police officers. So I'd go through it in a certain intimacy the same way you have. And I have I know mayors and.
No, not the same way that we have, because I don't know about you, but I don't have, my dad's not a cop. My brothers and sisters aren't cops. So no, not the same intimacy as me for sure. But that explains some, I would say, of what's going on with Lupe right here, where he's now saying he just said his dad is a cop, his brother and sister, his brothers, I think he said 2 brothers and a sister are all cops. So his whole family is cops essentially. So he said he got 3 at least. Yeah.
Well,
so
cop-splaining. Oh, that is
that is exactly what this is. And we're about to have 15 minutes of Lupe Fiasco cop-splained into all of us. Rebecca Williams says he right about the cop state of mind. Now we know, but yes, Rebecca says he right about the cop state of mind. Big part of the problem. Yes. And that's the thing. Talking about the cop state of mind too. It's like, that's the thing is, if you're going to say that, sure, that's the case, that they use the cop's state of mind, and they'll say, oh, did you feel in fear of your life? And I think, is that the whole thing about qualified immunity, you know, or is when you say, as long as if a cop says, I felt the fear,
then they're
if I fear for my life, then they have the authority to just kill anyone, and we cannot make that the only you know, the only justification. It has to be, oh great, I don't care how you felt, you know, if you are wrong, then you have caused somebody harm in our community that should not have been harmed, and there must be a penalty to pay for that. You know, there must be some, you know, redemption, some you know, restorative justice that has to take place there.
And the thing is that,
all right, so
when you look at Lupe, he's got biases clearly, and those biases are showing right now, you know, and they can be kind of dangerous, especially when you've got the power to kill and qualified immunity. So you have to remember that these biases play a huge role in how police, because there's racial profiling still to this day, like to a wild degree. In 2016, I believe, the court in Massachusetts said that black men have a reason to run from police based on racial profiling. And when you take that into consideration, to just say it's up to someone's discretion, and if they felt that someone was going to maybe go get a gun and then think about possibly murdering someone, you know, it gets to be a lot when you combine all
that's stop policing
together.
Like, that's not how.
That's
not what you're not. These are like thought crimes. Like, no, you don't get to murder people because you think that they might, you know, like, no, there's no evidence to relay that. No reasonable person should think that, and we should have laws that are set to say, you know, the same rules. Cops should be held like, you know, what Royce the 5'9" said in the beginning. He said cops are held to a higher standard. I think they should be held to a higher standard. Unfortunately, I don't think that they're held to a higher standard, but they absolutely should be held to a higher standard than anybody else in society, because they're the people that we give guns to go walk around with and you know, police the community. They absolutely need to be held to the highest standard, and they should be held to a higher standard of things like assault, you know, murder, things like that. Like, they should be held to an even higher standard than what an average civilian is held to, because you're being trusted with the weapons in society. So you absolutely should be held to a higher standard.
Especially when my understanding is that in the Army, when they're overseas dealing with people who aren't civilians, their rules are tighter than what the cops have to deal with. And that is wild to me, that they can treat their own, I don't get it. I just don't get it. I don't get it. It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, no, I know for sure that soldiers have, and I've heard from countless soldiers who talk about the rules of engagement and it being much more strenuous. The rules of engagement we're much more careful about that than we are about, you know, the law enforcement that's policing our own civilians. And so they're trained, you know, better than that in the Army. They're supposed to be about, you know, making sure that somebody, you know, is an actual threat in all the steps in between. And we'll talk about some of what those steps are, that police are supposed to be trained to, you know, the tactics that they're supposed to employ in these situations, because for certain they're not what Lupe Fiasco is talking about here. This just is not factually correct about if you're committing a felony that the police have a right to just shoot you. That's just absolutely untrue. That's false. That is incorrect information, and he is misinforming people. And he's, you know, sounding smart while he's doing it. He's sounding really smart while he's doing it, which allows him to sort of, you know, hide behind that and take cover behind that. So yeah, let's keep. FL says
he's pulling a well, actually.
yeah, and he does not stop. He keeps on trying to play
human form.
Yes. FL says, I had no idea he had that many cops in his immediate family. Wasn't Lupe running with a gang and from the streets? Yeah, he always thought, you know, he talks about how he used to run with the Latin Kings. And so, yeah, I'm just like,
It's very.
I never heard any of this. Like, my dad's a cop. My whole family's cops, like, rap about that, you know. And FL says, I wonder if he used daddy's cop connections. Yeah, like, you know, I'll show some of Lupe's cop rhetoric. You know, he's got a track, Handcuffs, and so let's actually, you know, we're gonna take a look at some of those lyrics from Handcuffs. Yeah. We could take a look now, and we, you know, if you want to. Okay, let's take a quick look at that. These are the lyrics from Lupe Fiasco's song Handcuffs here, and I'll show those off. All right, so this is a Lupe Fiasco song. If you want to see the kind of rhetoric that Lupe Fiasco has had in his lyrics about cops versus what we're hearing about from him tonight, like, this is his song Handcuffs, which is what came to mind to me as somebody that is a, you know, longtime listener of his music. This was one of the first tracks that came to mind when I was listening to this about what has Lupe said about cops in the past. So you know, obviously I can't read these lyrics without saying the N-word because of how it is used very prevalently in the song. I don't like using this word all that often. I think that Lupe's track, I think it's either Idle Roses or Audubon Ballroom, where he says, you know, the song where he's like, white people, you can't say, you know, and so that song, I think is much better, you know, his rhetoric on the N-word. But so I'm gonna use it because it has to be used throughout this. But yeah, so this is Lupe, and so from this track here, he says let me see. All right. So the whole song is about, you know, so he's, I'll give you a little bit of it. So he says, sitting in the back of the police car position, your mission is forgetting and denying the existence, thinking of different ways to keep from submitting and continuing not to mention. Grand Marquis Police Interceptor Edition with the wall so you can barely fit in. Knees is touching the front seat, shifting because your handcuffs is cutting your wrists in. You're wishing that he would drive faster, please, but he slows through the hood as he drives past the free. It's cool, but you tripping. The quicker you get there, the quicker you sit there, cuffed to a benching. They playing good cop, bad cop. One of them pretending. Okay, so he's saying they're playing good cop, bad cop. One of them pretending. The insinuation there being that the good cop here is pretending, unless there was some actual meaning behind him where he was like, no, that bad cop, he's pretending, because that sounds what he like. It might have been what he really meant. But he says good cop. They're playing good cop, bad cop. One of them pretending. And so he goes on to say, you know, he has some little anti-Russia propaganda up in here. So I'm gonna go on, just keep pushing on. So here he goes. He goes, a case. This ain't even a fine. You ain't fine nothing, homie. Not even a dime. Not even a dime. That'll drop dime on me. I know you was dying, so you put a dime on me. I know that's a crime. You're supposed to fight crime for me. So he's saying the cops are planting evidence on him. You know, that this is saying that he's talking about the cops planting evidence, planting drugs, you know, a dime bag of weed on him. So he's like, you know, and he's saying, I know that's a crime. You're supposed to fight crime for me. And protect and to serve, prosecute, correct, and return to the homies. And that's going to send them direct to the curb so you can put them back on me. And he's saying, you know, he's talking about the handcuffs. You know, he's talking about the recidivism rate in the in the system of incarceration that we have here, where people continually end up back in the system. He goes on to say, and again, rhetoric on police here. He says, he's sitting in the front of the police car position. His mission is bending, pinning charges on niggas. Even if they didn't, he's sitting in court lying, testifying against defendants. So he's talking about cops lying, you know, pinning charges on people, you know, particularly black men, or black people. So pinning charges on niggas, even if they didn't. So even if they didn't do it, he's pinning charges on them. The cop is sitting in court lying, testifying against defendants. And he goes on, and he loved to choke niggas. He don't trip with the rich. He just like the broke niggas. Probably did more dirt in the street than most niggas. Even the old people don't like him because of the way he approached niggas. Nigga, you ain't no better than me. Just a hustler with a badge. Confiscate the dope money. Put it with your retirement boat money. You ain't building no playgrounds. Hit the poor up for some cash. That ain't no pension. It's a shoebox stash with a Glock to protect it. We both undercover. Check it. Thinking that the good we do gonna outweigh the sinning that we do to collect it. Saying it's for the community. They don't value us. Only around because the property value up. And they got to clean the streets before they put the houses up. Knock them Section 8s down. Put them 200,000s up. Feel he don't get paid enough to kick in doors, to raid and cuff. So he used what niggas get on the street to supplement the wages cut. So we got to keep just enough niggas out there hustling to keep his paper up. And maybe he should be in the handcuffs. Okay. Yeah. So that's what he's saying about cops. Maybe they should be, the cops are the real criminals out here, pinning charges on, black folks, all to just make earn a check, supplementing their own wages with the hustling that they're doing, selling drugs, putting drugs back out there on the streets.
Theft, all doing time theft. It's all
yeah.
crooked. It's all fucked up. The whole system.
He hits on the class issue about how he don't trip with the rich. He just like the broke niggas, so he's like, he doesn't worry about the rich people. He's only worried about the broke ones, so this is about cops harassing poor people.
It's Lupe's storytelling where he goes from front to back and he breaks down the whole scenario from beginning to end on 2 different levels. There's the level at which he's telling the story up front, but then there's a deeper meaning where, like you said, it's about the whole criminal justice system, right? And the way that it chews motherfuckers up and spits them the fuck out, and it puts them in that cycle. And for him to acknowledge that, and again, that's why I feel like we have to point out this is the Lupe Fiasco. So for him to make a song like that and then say all this, it was like computer overload. My brain was fried when I heard it. Smoke came out my ears.
Absolutely. So let's keep playing some of it.
Yeah.
Let y'all listen to more of this. And see what we're talking about here. All right, so we'll keep it going here.
And different folks like that as well. And there is a certain set of protocols which some police bend to their favor for sure. And there's other times where police let people go. Right? There's footage
let people go.
Of Atlanta who was at the mall, black dude. Everybody's black. The police officer's black. People are black. He's black. Everybody's black. Dude has a backpack. And either being confronted by somebody in the mall. I mean, there's no sound, so you don't know what's happening. But it's just one shot. Dude, there's people antagonize him. He gets into a fight. Who starts it? Who doesn't know? The dude pulls a Draco, which is a mini AK-47. Out of the backpack that he has on, starts waving it around. Right? Police walk up. He gets down. They put cuffs on him.
Okay.
Take the gun. I guess they're talking. He uncuffs the guy, gives him the gun back. Right? Because the whole situation have the gun. It was legal for him to pull it out in the way that he had it. It was concealed, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And a Draco, which even though it's a mini AK-47, is still considered to be a pistol, not an assault rifle, right? It's sold as a pistol, right? So just because it's a big ass pistol doesn't make it a machine gun, even though it should be considered a machine gun. I know this because I have multiple Dracos, right? So the law bends in certain cases, and the discretion of the cop leans to certain places. And
I'm sorry, but what he's talking about there is just the cop doing his job, right? Like what was supposed to happen? The dude didn't allow anyone.
He pointed out that the dude legally had the gun and was allowed to legally possess it in that manner. So we need to stop and for a second think about that key point when we're talking about what he's saying right now, because he does point that out. So he's commending his entire argument, right? Is that they have good interactions with people, which is always this is always a terrible argument. So he's wagering that based on the fact that this one cop let a dude with a Draco go, that he legally was allowed to have, that based on that, you know, all cops aren't that bad. And that to me is literally
based on that, it's totally acceptable. No, based on that, it's totally acceptable that cops rolled up and shot Tamir Rice dead within 2 seconds of rolling up on a kid in a park holding a toy gun. That Philando Castile, obeying orders, reaching for his license and registration, after obeying every command of the police officer. It's okay that he got shot dead in his car with a little child in the back seat. It's okay that Jacob Blake got shot 8 times in the back because because this one cop did his job, did the bare minimum of just doing his job. Okay, the dude didn't hurt anyone. He didn't go on to hurt anyone. That's not the point of the story. I don't know what Lupe is saying. Okay, so one cop did what he was supposed to do. Great for you, but that doesn't change the fact that we got a disproportionate number of people that get killed. But we're going to look at the facts and the statistics on the US versus other countries in the world and look at how many people get shot and killed by cops and how disproportionate it is in any modern society, any industrialized society right now. This is just not the normal. And so, to say, oh, well, there's, not all cops, essentially. Well, not all cops are bad. That was his, that's
argument. Yeah, right here, at least.
Absolutely. FL says, why is he using random exception stories? Where is he going with the story? Exactly. Like,
and the wildest thing is, keep in mind his random exception story is literally the cop just doing his job. That's the exception. The exception is the cop doing his job. I just want to point that out. We need to keep that in mind.
Absolutely. Great point. FL says, in the way he's talking about guns, low-key comes off like I'm going to add these little extra details about guns to display my knowledge. Exactly. I felt the same way. Like when he's like, oh, I know about that because I got a couple of Dracos myself, and I'm going to specify the type of gun. It's an assault rifle. Yeah. And it's just, watch, FL, you're going to see he keeps on with that. I'm smarter than you rhetoric, that tone, that condescension, keeps on doing. And again, it's pseudo-intellectualism as far as I'm concerned. This is really, and it's like I read stuff, you don't read stuff. So whatever I say, you have to believe it. Very like classist and elitist in his rhetoric towards the rest of I'm not.
The wild thing with his music is that it's clear that the dude is a studied man. Like he reads books. He has experienced a lot of things. He has a vast of knowledge. That's why I'm just so baffled at the buffoon way that he's put together all of these semi-facts mixed with just nonsense. Man, this is propaganda in its purest form.
Yeah, absolutely.
Lupe Fiasco. From Lupe Fiasco.
Yeah. All right. Let's keep charging ahead with this. Play some more of this audio here.
Operate in the moment, feel about the assailant, depending on how they feel that day.
You think if that was a white police officer and that black man pulled that Draco out, you think that black man would be living today?
I don't know. There's other cases where all black cops, dude pulls the guns out and they shoot him 20 times. Because the circumstances that this person, right, was actively being antagonistic and was a threat, and the police felt that he was a threat, and those black cops shot him.
I know not see. We better not see a black police officer kill an unarmed white man. That's what we better not see. You're gonna see what real outrage looks like. You're gonna see what real outrage looks like. And I want to see how you're gonna respond to that, Lupe Fiasco.
What do you mean? I'm gonna respond by the law. I'm gonna respond the same way that I'm responding right now. It's one thing to understand your feelings. It's another thing to understand the narrative. It's another thing to understand. I'm not speaking out of my feelings. I'm not saying that you are.
I was paraphrasing the law as it was being explained to me by the people who I know who are in law enforcement. I haven't read law books and shit. Like I know when. All right,
hold up. So I want to touch on Royce's point there because Royce made a really great point. And he was like, he said, Lupe, like, what would you do? I want to see your response when it's a white cop. I'm sorry, when it's a black cop that kills a white person. And here's the thing. We actually have an incident of this happening. We know a situation about a black cop who killed an unarmed a black cop killed an unarmed white civilian. In fact, it happened in Minnesota, the same state that George Floyd was murdered in. So we know that this happened before. And so I want to actually take a look at the story about what happened to the black cop who shot an unarmed white civilian, and what happened with them versus what happens in the case of all the cops that, any color cop, doesn't matter what color you are, killing a unarmed black civilian. So let's take a look at this story. This is actually out of The Intercept. So after a black cop was convicted of killing a white woman, Minnesota activists say focus should be police reform. Muhammad Noor's conviction marks the first guilty verdict for a fatal shooting by an on-duty cop in Minnesota in decades. So that's what happens when a black cop, Muhammad Noor, he was a Somalian cop, I believe, and he, Somalian native, immigrant, I think, or, nationality, ethnicity, he was obviously American. He was a U.S. police officer, but, Somali American, they would say, and because I think that the anti-African, anti-Muslim, issues are there as well, but then also just anti-black, of course, just Absolutely. And I don't want to call this anti-black, like this is the basics of what should be happening when a police officer kills an unarmed civilian. This is what should happen every single time. This is what should happen when a police officer shoots a civilian that they didn't need to shoot, when their life wasn't in danger, and they shoot or kill someone. This is exactly what should happen. But so here, this is what did happen when it was this was a white woman who had called the police, to report a possible sexual assault in her neighborhood in the summer of 2017. And, the officer, Muhammad Noor, a Somali American and former police officer now, shot and killed her. And, he ended up, again, he was charged, he was convicted, and he was found guilty. Just look at the case of Breonna Taylor that happened recently. Of course, everybody knows Breonna Taylor, and they couldn't even get it to the point of going to trial. They stopped it before they even let it get to trial. They didn't even get it to this point of, they didn't even have a chance. So
this was a complete and total. It was just an odd job that has, as it says in the article, this is a scapegoat. And the thing is that when you live any type of life, especially when you're a cop as a profession with all of that power, you have to do a certain amount of math. You need to take all your privileges and you need to add them up to calculate how you carry yourself. And the thing that this brother forgot to do was he had to subtract from his math. And remember that at the end of the day, even though he was a cop, he was still a black man. So when he killed that white woman, he was done. He had to know they were going to disavow him. I don't know why he thought he would get the same special privileges that his other homies do. This is the common theme that usually occurs anytime you peep this shit. So I don't know why he didn't. You just got to remember at the end of the day, if you are a black person or a person of color and you are a police officer, you should just not be a police officer because they don't give a fuck about you at the end of the day.
At the end of the day, you're still just a Negro.
Blue line,
to them,
that blue line, it's a little bumpy.
Yeah.
It curves around certain people and it jumps back around and goes straight. But yeah. We'll go back.
Yep. FL says, did Lupe just use the common conservative /man/incel tactic of claiming that he's speaking with logic /rationality and not with his feelings? Oh, just fucking wait. Did he actually do the? I
thought that was later. I thought that was later. But
yes,
yeah,
because don't worry, FL, brace yourself. FL is picking up on all of these notes. FL is catching all of these. Even when there's subtle notes that he's hitting with.
Yeah,
and you see FL's picking up on the foreshadowing by Lupe of what is to come, because yes, he absolutely is saying that, and he will just straight up, flat out say it for us soon. All right, so just you wait. All right, you are 1000% correct there. All right, FL. So let's keep pushing along here on this audio. All right, back to more of this audio.
Get out of my business.
I'm not saying that you are.
I was paraphrasing the law as it was being explained to me by the people who I know who are in law enforcement. I haven't read law books and shit like that, but I know when I took the gun class, the guidelines that they told me that needed to be followed by the law by a citizen carrying the gun. And then they also talked about the same guidelines that the police needed to adhere to. This came from a DEA agent. So I don't know.
Right. At the same time, too, a lot of police officers don't know the law. It's not their job to know the law.
Wow.
What? Lupe Fiasco just said that it is not the police officer's job to know the law. All right? That man just said it is not the police officer's job to know the law. Let me tell you another word for police officer. It is called a law enforcement officer, okay? And the law enforcement officers... Exactly. You tell me how you enforce a law when you don't know the damn law. Exactly.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
He was saying the loud part. He was saying the quiet part loud right there. And he just didn't understand the difference.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, like I can't believe the ignorance of somebody saying that it's not a cop's job. It's not the law enforcement officer's job to know the law is one of the dumbest things I have ever heard of a human being ever say. I mean, that is one of the dumbest things. And I've had 4 years of Donald Trump, and that's one of the dumbest damn things I've ever heard someone say. Like, it's not the law enforcement officer's job to know the law. Who the hell's job is it? That it's literally their job. It is literally their job.
The law is for the lawyers. The law is for the lawyers. The cops just go pew pew. That's what he's trying to say. Basically,
all right. Let's let him continue on.
Let him go off.
Yep.
Oh boy.
Yep.
Right. I'm talking about all the statutes and all this because it's just not their job. That's the job of the DA.
Why would they not have to know the law?
They're not lawyers.
But they're the one. They have to enforce
it. It just said they're not lawyers. They're law enforcement officers.
I told you,
they don't
lawyers
know the
laws. Law enforcers go pew pew. That's what he's trying to say.
I just can't believe he even used the word law enforcement though. And so it's like, how do you say that? The word is literally right there, Lupe. It's right there.
FL says,
oh man, I'm right.
I can't. I'm so confused by Lupe right now. I completely agree. Yeah, I'm hurt too, FL. This is absolutely tragic. It is like when you when you see a rapper who's way past their prime and they're fucked up on and they're like opening at a show and you're just like, this is a tragedy. That's how I feel right now.
Let's let him continue here. Let's let them continue here and then we'll get back to the comments real quick. One sec. Because I want to let him finish this whole point here.
How can you enforce laws if you don't know laws?
There's a certain set of they're looking for crime, right? And it's up for them to observe at the best of their abilities if a crime is being committed.
How can you observe a crime is a broken law?
Because did this person break into this person's house? When I pull up, right, I get a call. There's a guy breaking into my house. Do you come up and observe a guy breaking? We all know breaking into your house is a crime.
We know it's a crime because there's a law that says it's a fucking crime, dude. Like, what the fuck is Lupe fucking Fiasco talking about?
Fam? I would have laughed. I don't know how. I respect the fuck out of Royce right now for. I mean, understand how you. Oh my goodness, that makes zero sense.
Bruh.
That makes negative sense. I've lost sense listening to the last 3 minutes of the things that you've just said, Lupe Fiasco, because all of them are untrue, completely and totally and woefully untrue. I don't.
But they're so odd. It's like it's
So
contradiction
odd.
and
Yeah, it doesn't make
like,
sense.
it
On its face, it doesn't make sense.
But he literally said, he's like, well, that's a crime. And it's like, well, how do you define? And Royce da 5'9" is just on point with this stuff. And you can, and this is what was pissing me off. And I felt so right, because all throughout this discussion, whatever we want to call this travesty here, this debacle, all throughout this debacle, Royce da 5'9" is on the, like, he is 100% correct, but because he's not know how
to properly formulate his perspectives, but each and every time he's spot on.
Exactly, he's 100% correct on the moral, the idea and the principle here. And Lupe Fiasco just sounds smarter, and so he's just using his pseudo. That's why this comes across as just pseudo intellectualism, because it's not actually intellectual, and it just sounds like it's intellectual. It sounds smart, but he's not smart, and he's not being smart right now.
If you stop and Google any of this, it's all not true. Like, there's if you guys have tuned into our show before, typically right now we would be bringing up like links to show you laws and stuff to show why this isn't true. But this is all so painfully, obviously not true that I think we can all agree that we're going to go ahead and skip over that for the sake of everybody's time right now. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think that we need to define for anyone any more than what Royce da 5'9" just did of what a crime is. It's all right. So we'll keep going. Let's keep letting Lupe just make a damn fool of himself here. Yep.
Robbery is a crime. Rape is a crime. Murder is a crime. I'm talking about specific things. Like, did this dude commit computer fraud?
Well, how can you know specific things about laws if you don't know the law?
But the commission of a violent act, right?
So now Lupe's just defining crimes as just violent acts. You just said breaking in and robbing somebody. Now you're talking about violent acts. Like,
why did you say computer fraud? Wait, why did he say computer fraud? I need to know. Can we bring that back? Why did you say computer fraud? Because I need to know what the computer do.
Because the crime is. Did this person break into this person's house? When I pull up, right, I get a call. There's a guy breaking into my house. Do you come up and observe a guy breaking? We all know breaking into your house is a crime. We know robbery is a crime. Rape is a crime. Murder is a crime. I'm talking about specific things. Like, did this dude commit computer fraud?
How can you know specific things about laws if you don't know the law?
But the commission of a violent act.
Lupe doesn't know how to respond to that, because what Royce da 5'9" just is called calling him on his bullshit. Okay, he has zero response.
So he did a little and juked over that point real quick.
Yep. So let's see where this goes.
Right, it's not that many. Right, it's a few. It isn't like it's hundreds, but there's hundreds of laws.
This motherfucker just said there's hundreds of laws, but there's not hundreds of crimes. Like, yo, literally for every single law that there is, Lupe, okay, it is a crime if you break that law, okay? Literally.
For every crime, there is equal to amount of laws. All right? Do you understand where we're going with this? Like, golly.
Yo, all right. So of course, there's criminal law versus civil law. Of course, they're all motherfucking. We know what we're talking about here, and everybody knows what we're talking about here. And there are a lot more than less than 100 that the cops need to know. And the cops. So let's keep it going.
Hundreds of statutes, right? And it's not impressing upon a street cop, to know all of that. That's why we have cops who go to law school, right? And to your point about, and I brought that up just to say that some of the worst trained and the worst interpreters of the law are police. And that comes from people who sell guns to the police. So police can buy guns.
Brace yourself for a dumbass anecdote that I feel like is a complete fucking non sequitur here. But just brace yourselves, everyone, for this anecdote that I have no idea where he was going with this. But whatever, he's going to give us a little anecdote here.
It's a little bit different here in California, but in Illinois, we got the same access to what police have access to. Like, there's no separation of what the police have and what we have. In California, it's different. So you can go into a gun store here, and there's a whole nother section that, unless you're law enforcement, you can't even go into. Right? You're stuck with kind of these civilian stuff. But in Illinois, because everybody has the same access, everybody shops at the same places. And I have a very good rapport with a few gun dealers in Chicago, and they're like the worst people that come into the store who do not know what the fuck they doing are the police. They don't know how to handle a gun. They don't, like, literally they come in and like they'll take their gun out and hand it to dude and be like, hey, can you help me fix this? And dude's like, yo, what the fuck are you doing? Right? Like, you just don't come in here and operate like that. I don't give a fuck if you got a badge, because the badge doesn't matter if you're going to accidentally discharge and kill somebody in the store. Right? So you would be surprised that some of the most well-trained, the most well-understanding of the law and how to operate in and around and above the law are those same militias. Probably know more about the law than the fucking police do.
Again, I don't know what if Lupe's trying to make a point in our favor here or what, but telling me that the cops don't know what the hell they're doing and don't know how to handle guns, to me means that they shouldn't fucking have them, all right? That's what that says to me.
Wait. We need to remember that we started this with him saying that they are allowed to have complete and utter discretion over when they can shoot you in the back or shoot you in the head. We need to remember that this is all the same conversation. I know that feels like over a year ago because this is 2020 time. So who knows what existence you're in right now? But that was mere minutes ago. Lupe was just talking about how they have complete and utter discretion to interpret the law and do whatever to stop a crime, including shoot you in the back and or head. Just to tie this all together.
But those same cops apparently are the ones that are just bumbling idiots who don't know how to use guns, but they should be the ones that apparently have the discretion, because he's not arguing. He didn't say they have the discretion that we should change that. He's just like, nah, dude, sorry, you just got to deal with that. Cops got the discretion to just shoot you dead in the head with their, even though they don't know how to handle a gun and they don't know the laws. So they don't know the laws. They don't know how to use guns. But these are the people we got roaming the streets enforcing the fucking law. Like, that's what Lupe is advocating for. And he's like, and that's totally cool. That's totally cool to Lupe. Yeah. And then he's just like, yeah, no, the militias, they're the ones that we should be trusted. Yeah. And I'm sorry, like, great. I'm not against like militias, and like, I believe in, that the left needs to be actually operating left-wing militias. And I'm totally supportive of left-wing militias, totally supportive of that. I do believe that militias will oftentimes actually know better than the cops. Yes, I believe that, because you can have more community control over a militia. So yes, I absolutely believe that is an acceptable, strategy on the left in movement building that we should be working on. But that does not, excuse the fact that we got a bunch of right-wing militias running around there, just murdering people indiscriminately, working with cops to murder,
because we know we need more leftist militias. I can only stand to assume that he's talking about right-wing militias right there. Maybe I'm wrong, and he'll clarify at some point in the future. But that was weird flex to make, I guess.
Yeah, you should really specify like black militias, or say something like left-wing militias or black militias.
Very different things.
Because clearly a lot. Yes, absolutely. And he should, then just like, while you're on your pro-cop rant to just throw out militias, to me comes across as right-wing militias is what you're referring to at that point. Like you're pro right-wing militia as well. Like,
that came out real weird, man.
All right, let's keep it going here.
Keep pushing.
Let's be honest, a lot of the people that end up becoming cops too, and this is not to say anything bad, but they might not be the lawyers, the smartest people, the people that have actually memorized every law there is. I mean, they know enough to do their job. I actually agree with you on this one. But what I
See, the guy agrees with him on that. That's Thomas Frank, the white guy here, agreeing with him, but he's agreeing with him. But he also, even the white guy, within that one sentence that he said, he managed to still caveat it with, you know, and it's probably not a good thing. You know, he's like, you know, and you're right, but it's probably not a good thing. You know, it's like even he has the sense about him to be like, yeah, you know, and this sounds wrong though. This is not a good thing here. But Lupe can't even caveat like that. He can't even throw that disclaimer on there. All right, we'll keep on charging ahead with Lupe.
don't agree with you,
and they get a call.
They get a call and they got to do it. But back to the Jacob Blake thing. Just I have to say this though. At the end of the day, whether it's right, wrong, or whatever, illegal or not, what could possibly be going through the guy's head that shot this guy 7, 8 times in the back? Like even if he thought he was going in for a weapon, you know people were recording this. You know this is. How do you just not shoot him in the leg or take him down? There's 8 of you. How many cops were there? There were like to me that's. I don't care what's right or wrong, but it's crazy. Yeah. It's crazy. Like why would you do that? Like you're going down this road.
First, you're not supposed to shoot people in the leg. They don't train police officers to shoot people in the legs, right? For various reasons, right?
But don't you think they could have brought him down in another way without shooting him 7 times?
They could have done all kinds of stuff. But here's the thing: when it comes to knives and proximity, police officers are taught to shoot. Say you actually have a knife, right? And dude is standing with the knife at a distance, right?
Jacob Blake did not have a knife. I just want to remind everyone real quick that Jacob Blake did not have a knife in his possession, and only told officers that he had a knife that was in the car, but he did not have a knife in his possession, and at no time did he possess that knife before being shot 8 times in the back. So just to be clear on that.
Mm-hmm. They've done tests and studies that to cover the maximum distance, I think is like 30 feet, meaning somebody's 30 feet away from you, right? There's still not enough time for you to take your weapon out, aim it, and discharge. By the time you do that action, that person has been able to cover like 20, 30 feet and stab you. And this is from 30 years ago, right?
Okay, so here's Lupe. Lupe is talking about. He says it's something where there's about 30 feet, and this idea that a person with a knife can close the distance on an officer from what he said was 30 feet. And that that justifies a police officer shooting somebody that is wielding a knife. He's saying now, in fact, what he's referring to is something that's known as the 21-foot rule. So, in fact, it's 21 feet is what he's referring to. It's something called the 21-foot rule. And what I want to do is just show you how that so-called 21-foot rule is nothing more than an unscientific myth that has been repeatedly debunked over and over again ad nauseum now at this point. So we're going to take a look at an article real quick from 2016, this one. And again, you can find 50, 100 articles just like this one. I had 5 pulled up and just picked, the one that had the most information and the most concisely. So this is readily available information. Google 21-foot rule and you'll see what pops up for you. So here's an article again from 2016 on the star.com. And so it says, outdated, and this is a Canadian outlet that is talking about this here. Outdated 21-foot rule for police shootings finally bites the dust. So this is in 2016. They're saying, this outdated, 21-foot rule for police shootings finally bites the dust. 2016, 4 years ago, they're talking about this thing being old and debunked. They go on, they say the title of an article published in 1983 in SWAT magazine titled How Close is Too Close? In the SWAT magazine asked a simple question: how close is too close? When a police officer has an encounter with a person with a knife, distance is only one factor to consider when determining what to do next and whether to use deadly force. Nonetheless, the article was to become a kind of seminal text within policing circles, establishing the so-called and to some infamous, quote, 21-foot rule. The article goes on. The rule is also referred to as the Tuller drill after Dennis Tuller, the article's author and a former firearms instructor with the police force in Salt Lake City, Utah. In an effort to determine who is more likely to come out on top in a fight between a gun and an edged weapon, Tuller ran tests showing that in the time it took for the officer to unholster a gun and shoot about 2 seconds, a person with a knife that can cover about 21 feet or roughly 6 meters. So it's how much they can unholster their gun, and it doesn't say here, but it's unholster their gun and shoot 2 what they call unaimed shots. So that's how long it takes. They say it takes an officer to unholster their gun and fire 2 quote unaimed shots, not quote from this article, but from other documentation on this rule. So, and they say that they then measured how long a person with a knife can cover in that same amount of time, and they measured that they could cover 21 feet. The takeaway then, so this, again, continuing from this article, the takeaway that a knife may pose a more deadly threat than a gun within that 21-foot distance was soon a doctrine incorporated into police curriculum throughout the U.S. and influenced police training culture in Canada. It is frequently referenced in court cases and coroner's inquests, including the 2014 inquest into the shooting deaths of 3 mentally ill people by Toronto police officers. The 21-foot rule is not formally taught at any police service in Canada, according to Terry Coleman. Okay, so they go on. But he said Canadian officers sometimes attend use of force training in the U.S. where the concept is still taught. When his own officers asked Coleman about attending these sessions during his time as chief in Moose Jaw, he said he told them, not on your life. So he's telling his people, like, don't go. His own officers asked him about attending those kinds of trainings, a Canadian officer, and he told his own officers, do not do that on your life. Like, do not do that. And so he said it's a well-known concept in policing, and the danger of it is that there is no science behind it. So it's a well-known concept in policing, and the danger of it is that there is, quote, no science behind it, he said. So the consequence is that officers may focus more on distance than anything else and skip trying other tactics, such as attempting to talk the person down and go straight for their gun once the person comes within a certain distance. The risk runs that no other option will be tried. So Toronto police spokesman Mark Pagash said the 21-foot rule is not taught at the Toronto Police College and that officers are instructed to treat each encounter, quote, on its own unique facts using 6 principles. And so here, the 6 principles are, the principles are 1, time. So time, distance, cover, containment, communication, and teamwork. And so they say time, try to buy it, often through communication. So try to buy time. Distance, try to get it, even if it means backing up. So back your ass on up, all right? You think Jacob Blake is going for a knife and you have a gun?
Talk him down and back up.
Back up and try to talk him down. That's exactly how you should approach a situation like this. You back up because you have a friggin' gun, okay? You can shoot them. You should have a gun and aim, and good aim and a lot of training. So you should be able to take down a subject like that. So you can just back on up and start to talk to them. Also, take cover. They say cover, try to take it. So get behind cover, get behind, whatever you have in the area. There was a vehicle there. If you watch the video, there was a vehicle. The guy's kids were in the vehicle. Like, you can get behind cover. There were other cars on the street. There were buildings. There was plenty of things to get cover behind. The next up is containment. Try to keep the situation from spreading. So just keep things contained. Communication, focusing on verbal de-escalation with the subject. So use de-escalating tactics, verbal de-escalation tactics, even if somebody has a freaking bladed weapon, they say. So even if they have a knife, not just that you think they're going to get one. And then teamwork, working with fellow officers. So on that note, I just want to show a very quick video here. And this is a video of cops in the UK where 90% of officers in the UK do not carry firearms. This is a video of cops in the UK responding to a call of a person wielding a machete. So this gentleman here is having some sort of what they would later find out is some sort of mental health breakdown, some sort of mental health episode, and they were wielding a machete on the street. And so this is, just think about this in the context of Jacob Blake, who was just walking towards his car that had his children in it, where he had told officers, volunteered up the information that he had a knife in the car. Not that they know that he was going for the knife, but just that he had a knife, and that he happened to have a knife in the car. And he, you know, that he had just offered that information up to officers, and he was walking towards that his car when you know, cops shot him 8 times in his back. So think of that in contrast to what we're about to see from the UK police with a gentleman who has a machete, is wielding a machete already. All right, so let's take a look here. UK cops. This was posted back in 2016. I don't know exactly the date that it happened, but this was posted in 2016, this video.
From the UK, an amazing video for edged weapon training.
So you can see the guy there with the machete.
A distraught man wielding not scissors or a knife, but a machete, all captured on a smartphone from across the street.
His ability to move is not completely obstructed by either the officers or by the vehicles, but he is more or less surrounded.
Look at what the police are doing, staying behind the
street or moving forward.
They're moving around the cop cars, using cover.
Trying to continue to verbally de-escalate the situation over a period of time.
Verbal
You could
de-escalation.
probably say they've contained him.
They've
without
contained.
restraining him.
You see,
And
containment without restraint.
Forwards for some minutes, whilst other officers are bringing what we would call public order shields to the location.
Riot shields.
And
That's
in a
what they're waiting on.
coordinated movement, they move towards him. There's no way he's going to be able to use that weapon or go anywhere else. He's ended up placed on the ground with the use of the shields. The weapon's taken from him, and then he's stood up and handcuffed and detained.
The incident ends with the man taken to hospital.
Do you think that man would have survived in North America?
No, no, he wouldn't have survived. Wouldn't have survived. A couple of minutes, probably.
So what's to be learned from that?
Well, it is doable without firing your firearm.
Yeah.
Oh man. So, you know, that's from the UK police. That's what they see for training videos at the UK College of Policing. So that's the difference between the type of training that our officers get here in the US and this idea that, you know, that completely this idea, you know, the 21-foot rule that Lupe Fiasco is talking about is a thoroughly debunked myth that is completely unscientific and is just so again, this is just keeping with Lupe's pattern of just being factually incorrect throughout this entire episode. Yeah,
every single time.
Absolutely. So we'll continue on here, but I just thought, I mean, I think that's an amazing, you know, technique and tactics used by the police there and for those UK cops. I mean, that's a dude screaming, wielding a machete, you know, swinging it around, and they get behind cover. You know, those cops hear these words from Kamali, you know, Rose. You would think you would never hear these words from me. Those cops are heroes. Okay, those cops are heroes. That would be easy for me to see.
They did a Spartan move with the shields and surrounded him and just like smushed him down. And it like he didn't like.
Listen, I'm a person who literally runs around.
What would have happened?
Yeah, exactly. Like we know what would have happened. Like there's 0% chance, and especially if that's a black person, we know for sure what happens in America. If that's a black person wielding a machete, they're done. They're done. And so that person is shot dead. They're shot dead. So, you know, I think that it just shows that there are techniques that could be employed, could be deployed, these different techniques, instead of, you know, shoot first, ask questions later. It doesn't need to be that way. And if the police operated in that way, people like myself that literally have stuff up here that says like all cops are bastards and defund the police, I would be out here, you know, again, calling our police heroes and treating them as such. And I would really think police were heroes if that's how our police operated and police were there to just protect the community and to protect and to serve. I would have no issue with some sort of policing entity, but those people would have to be held accountable, and it would have to be something democratically controlled and not authoritarian the way that our current police force operates. So yeah, but Lupe was just dead ass wrong when he was talking about a 21-foot rule and referencing that. He's just wrong. And unfortunately, the people that he's talking to don't have the information on hand to call him out and to debunk these just false claims that he's making right on the spot. So that's unfortunate, but we're going to do that here. So let's keep on.
He says it in a way where he sounds like he's
absolutely,
and that trips people up.
Absolutely. So let's take a look here at let's take a listen here to some more of the audio.
Where these questions of, okay, if somebody has a knife, forget a gun, somebody has a knife or a club, okay, what is a safe distance?
And it's
like, well, it's like 50 feet. But once somebody gets within 10 feet, 2 feet, whatever, I mean, it's up to the discretion of the cop. Do you want to get, if you feel that somebody has a knife that you haven't searched, right? And you're like, I want to get proximate.
Did you want to say something, Kwame? I saw you.
He said, if you feel that someone has a knife that you haven't searched.
Yeah. So you don't even, he's saying you don't even know that this person has a knife. So he's just literally saying, like, he's still back on this. Like, if they even think, if the cops even think that you might have a knife, they are authorized to put you down dead. That is Lupe's position, apparently. And yeah, and so he's talking about, you know, the 21-foot rule. He's just like, he is completely wrong. And when he talks about 2 feet, 10 feet, whatever, it's like that. Look at the cops in you know, in the UK there. That dude came within 5 feet, 2 feet of some of them, and they backed up. They kept backing up. Oh, he's coming within 10 feet. You back up so that you're further than 10 feet away. That's an option. That is a freaking option. You do not have to stand your ground, like stand your ground and stand there. No, you back up. You back up and get cover. As long as you saw the cops that they did have it contained so that he wasn't able to get to like the public and start attacking people in the public or anything like that. And then they then get much closer than within 2 feet once the shields arrive. See, so these are a bunch of cops that don't even, they show up without guns. First off, like when you show up without guns, you can't shoot anyone. So you have to operate with other tactics. And so like that is the first thing that we could do, is just disarm the police. Like that should be a movement that we start to push for more, is disarming the police. In the UK, 90% of the first responding police officers do not have firearms. They don't carry firearms. They have like a special SWAT team that they call in when the situation arises, when the situation calls for someone to have a gun. You know, that's when you should call in people with guns. But people don't need to be responding with guns. You don't need people to show up with guns when you're dealing with a mental health episode. You don't need people to show up with guns immediately when you're dealing with homelessness or drug addiction. You just don't need people to show up with guns for that shit. Like, I don't want anyone with a gun in those scenarios.
It makes no sense. Absolutely no sense. This is, it's hard to even really understand at all where this man is going with any of the stuff that he's saying. It's just so wrong. So wrong.
Yeah.
Every aspect of it. But real quick, man, I just want to shout out everybody. Thank you for joining us tonight. In case you are here for your first time, please support the show over on patreon.com/raised-fist-media, all one word. We would
Kwame froze on me, so I don't know if he froze on y'all, but we both are.
Oh, are we back? Can you hear me?
Yes, we're back. Yep.
All right. Yes. Patreon.com/raised-fist-media. All one word. Please go on there and subscribe and support the show. If you can, we would really appreciate it. It would go a long way to helping us out. To be able to
links are in the description box below, and you can sign up for as low as $1 a month. Become a Patreon, support the show. We need your help. We need support. We're independent media, and the only way that we can exist and function is if we get the support of the people. So we do need your support if you can afford to do so, and only if you can afford to do so. Do not do not do it if you can't afford it. If you're stretched to the limit, please do not do it. Don't worry about it. We have plenty of great Patreon members and patrons that they subsidize it for the rest of the community by supporting the show. So by supporting the show, if you can afford it, please do so. Throw a couple extra bucks if you can, and that helps another person be able to watch without being able to pay. And so, $1 a month, as low as $1 a month, please support the show. And thank you to, again, as Kwame said, to everyone that is already a Patreon patron. Nothing but love for all of you. We appreciate you. Deepest gratitude for believing in us and helping us to make this possible. Thank you.
Please absolutely also do us a huge favor, like and subscribe. If you are not a subscriber already, subscribe to Raise Fist Media. We have a lot of great content in the pipelines coming down for you guys, some reviews and all kinds of awesomeness. And yeah, we just really appreciate you. We just had to take a little break to say something happy before we continue to wreck our minds. Like
Absolutely. Let's get to it. And links are in the description box below. There's a link in the description box below for the Patreon. So if you just want to open up the description box, click that link and head over to the Patreon page and sign up. We will also we'll try to keep an eye on that. Kwame, keep an eye out on the Patreon. Make sure you have that up and keep an eye out on it. If we get any new patrons, we will shout you out live on stream. We'll give you a massive shout out and thanks. So please, we'll keep an eye on that. And yeah. All right. Let's get back to more of this audio here. All right.
With this person, if I know that I can still get killed by a knife, I might be able to kill them. I might be able to put a couple rounds in them, but just they're still able to approach me in a certain capacity. I mean, it's at the discretion of the officer. If you want to take that chance as an officer,
it would be easier for me to judge like a lot of these scenarios without using my emotion and just going by the law if it seemed like that the police officers that we're talking about did the same. A lot of this shit is emotion. A lot of it is based in their preconceived notion of black people or their prejudged hatred of black people.
I agree.
You know what I mean? So it ain't just about the law because it's only happening to us. It's not happening to anybody else.
I mean,
go ahead. It's happening.
That's the narrative.
Go ahead. You're going to say.
No, so think about this, big.
I mean, I'll just correct Royce. I mean, it's happening to everyone. It just happens disproportionately to Black and Indigenous people. And you can't say that it's only happening to us. Royce should, just to correct Royce on that. It's not just happening to us. In fact, the people that are most disproportionately killed by cops are Indigenous people. If you're talking about quantitatively, the most people that are killed by cops are white people, of course, because white people are so, are the vast majority of this country. And so it's disproportionate. So if, to say it's only happening to Black people is inaccurate, and it just erases out too much of, there are other groups, in particular, Indigenous people that suffer even more disproportionately than Black people at the hands of law enforcement in this country. And so that should not be erased and goes without saying. And also there are poor white people. Like, being poor, you are persecuted by cops. So you'll find in like rural areas and stuff, like the poor white folks don't like the ATF. Like, they are not cool with the ATF and they hate those motherfuckers. And like, so there are, plenty of places where there are poor white folks also being persecuted by cops, being shot, being killed by cops. And so, and I say that just to say, hey, if you're white and you're listening to this, it does impact you. It can impact you, especially if you listen to this, you're probably broke too. And so, that's just the reality. It can happen to anyone, including poor white folks, poor brown folks, poor Black folks. And so it's not just us, but it is disproportionately Black and Indigenous people, and of course even Latino people. But the highest proportionality, of course, is Indigenous, and then Black, and then Latino. So that just want to make that correction.
Sure. I mean, policing all around the world, when they look at America, and we could play apples and oranges, but I mean, I don't plan to live in America my entire life. Right. So I want to move to somewhere else, just to be clear. But understand that policing all over the world, they'll look at America like, y'all got it sweet.
Oh, Lordy. So Lupe really just hit us with you know, the whataboutism of, well, you know, some other places in the world, there are other places that they look at America and you guys, we got it so good here in America. I mean, we should just shut up and just accept the police brutality. You know, we should just accept that because we got it so good here. He says, you know, we just got it so good here. So, you know, he says, oh, other places, they look at America and they're like, oh, you guys, you know, you're lucky. So let's see what kind of other places, right? You know, like I said, we already talked about this, the rate of police, you know, shootings and killings by law enforcement in the U.S. versus other countries. So let's take a look at that. We're going to take a look at two bits of data here. So first up, literally just going to pull up from Wikipedia here. So real quick from Wikipedia, because it's that simple, and Lupe could definitely do this. Let's pull up this is a list of killings by law enforcement officers by country. So Lupe says all around the world, they look at America and they say, oh, you guys got it so good. So here's a list of killings by law enforcement officers by country. So first, we're just going to scroll down this list. This goes from at the top of the list is the highest. This is in order of the rate per 10 million people, right? So this is per every 10 million people. How many people out of every 10 million people in your country are being killed by law enforcement, right? So it's a way of sort of normalizing the data, so it's not, so that you're not looking at like, oh, well, this country has more people than this other country. It normalizes that data out. So it says based on every 10 million people, out of every 10 million people you have in your country, how many of them got killed by law enforcement in the last year that you have data for. So you can see from the top, this is the highest. So I'm going to scroll down and just find the US on this list really quick. So you can find the United States here. So the United States is at 34.8 civilians killed by law enforcement officers out of every 10 million. Now, again, they break this down by, they have people killed by police, military, intelligence agencies, and others. So they even break it down even further, but this is all included. So they include police, military. So they're even looking at countries where maybe it's not just police killing people, but the military killing people. And so it's, you know, they're even including those statistics. Here in the US, you really don't often, military are only, we've covered stories of military members killing other military members typically. And we see that, like, you can check out our stories from Fort Hood. There was, you know, multiple people have been murdered at Fort Hood by other, what appears to be other, you know, military members, usually around issues of, you know, these people were sexually assaulted and then threatened to go to higher ups about it, or did go to higher ups about it and then were subsequently killed. And so check out that coverage of Fort Hood. There was a famous case that Vanessa Guillen was the famous case that out of Fort Hood, but there have been about 5 soldiers, one from a town right nearby where I live, Brockton, Massachusetts. There was a soldier that was a young kid who was, you know, killed by police. And I'm sorry that I'm forgetting his name right now. Young Latino, Cape Verdean brother. So I'm sorry for the name, for missing the name right now. Maybe super producer Tammy might be able to drop that in the comments for us. But so here he says, oh, some of these other countries, they look at America and they say, oh, you guys got it so good over there, right? So let's look at some of the countries that do worse than America, right? Just take a look at some of the countries doing worse than America. All right. So it's Iran, you know, and mind you, keep in mind, like, all the sanctions that the US has on Iran, but we won't even get into that. But it's Iran, Kenya, Nigeria, Iraq, Democratic Republic of the Congo, Burundi, St. Lucia, Burkina Faso, Uruguay, Lesotho, Central African Republic, South Africa, you know, a part of former, you know, recent apartheid state. And we know who those people being disproportionately killed in South Africa are. We know what race those people are going to be. Honduras, places where, you know, I'm seeing a lot of places that are either in Africa. These are places that are suffering under colonialism. If you just see a common trend here, these places have by and large suffered under US imperialism and just settler colonialism. So Honduras, Dominican Republic, Guyana, Afghanistan. So these are people that are suffering under U.S. imperialism, you know, Afghanistan, the Bahamas, Brazil, Philippines, you know, this is Brazil, the U.S. war on drugs. So, you know, Latin American, Monroe Doctrine, like things like this that these people are impacted by. Philippines, Trinidad and Tobago, Jamaica. You know, I lived in Jamaica. I know what it's like there, you know. So like there's like extrajudicial killings by police and by the military. Nicaragua, Syria, El Salvador, Venezuela. So that's all the countries that are worse than America. Listen to that list of countries that we just named. Like, are those the countries that America wants to be, you know, holding themselves up as the standard? We want to say, oh, well, we're doing better than, you know, Iraq and Afghanistan. Yeah. So, you know, we should be so lucky, right? You don't see any Canada, you know, you don't see Switzerland, you don't see Norway, Germany, you don't see, you know, England, you don't see any of these places on there. You know, look at where at the bottom of this list, you know, down at the bottom of this list, you have places like Switzerland. These are places where there are zero, you know, it's zero is the, you know, the numbers are so low that it doesn't even register in out of every 10 million people being killed by officers. So Switzerland, Iceland, Denmark, notice like, you know, Iceland, Denmark, Japan, Poland, UK, Taiwan, Sweden, Portugal, Hong Kong, Germany, Australia, Nepal, Finland, Norway, New Zealand, Netherlands, Belgium, Indonesia, France, Canada, you know, India. Like this is the place where we should be being mentioned.
These are places where
exactly these are the OECD countries.
Yeah, behavior just doesn't exist like for police officers, apparently. Or
exactly.
They've got something figured out better than we do. So for us to ever laud ourselves or try to uplift ourselves based on the premise of we're doing better than certain countries on this is...
It's like this, you know, that shouldn't be the bar that we're holding up to. We should do much better. We should the number should be, you know, zero. Essentially, it should be the goal. And we know that it can be achieved in civil societies. You can achieve a goal of zero. It's not an irrational goal to say zero in every 10 million people. That's how many people should be killed by cops every year.
Higher expectations of what we want from police, as far as them understanding the law, when to use the law, as far as the laws around when they're allowed to use force. These are all things we have to revisit, not just wildly accept, and not just accept, but make shit up about.
Yeah, yep, which Lupe does time and time again here. So let's try to power through. We'll try to get through the rest of this, you know, some more of this and see where we can get to here, because we're about an hour and a half in on this episode. Please, if you haven't done so already, immediately hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed, and share this out on social media far and wide. We really appreciate it and need your assistance there. Help us grow the show. And you can always, if you can afford to do so, support us on Patreon, patreon.com/raisedfistmedia. Links are in the description box below. Please do so if you can afford it, and only if you can afford it. Thank you so much to everyone. Let's keep charging along through this Lupe travesty. Here we go. Oh, sorry. Let me. Didn't have that up. Sorry.
It's all good.
Here we go.
Computer melted. It didn't want to
y'all
say
got
anymore.
It sweet. Like all they did was shoot. All they did, right? They would have killed you, burnt your body, and did all kinds of shit to you. The police. If you were in the Philippines, they're just pulling up on people, blowing their brains out in front of their kids. No investigation or anything. If you were in Kenya, right? There's cell phone footage of police pulling up. Look, where's the dude? Where's such and such? Pulling them out of the crowd, laying them on the ground, and executing them in front of broad daylight, and nothing happens. No, and they have the footage of you shooting that dude.
You're talking about a situation that doesn't have to do with the race, though. I think what Royce is
that's
saying,
what I'm saying. You're conflating. I'm talking about
same
situations
I
where
agree that
people are being targeted. That's what I'm talking about.
I agree with that, and I understand what you're saying. And I can point to I can point to Boys in the Hood. I can point to Nino Brown. I could point to everywhere that white people and white cops have been educated that black people are animals and they're violent and they're this and it's reinforced and they're this and they're that, gangs and rap music and the whole shit. That shit works.
But you would just be
wow, yo, this dude literally just said, well, yo, it's not their fault. I mean, media done told them that black people are awful and terrible, so
of course they're afraid of us.
He really
right?
just blamed it. He was like, just pull up your pants, black people. Just pull up your pants. Stop sagging your pants. And maybe the cops will stop blowing your brains out. All right, black people. Just that's all you got to do, black folks. Just talk a little bit, more polite, with a little, put on a suit, be more respectable. And then maybe they won't have to murder your dumbasses, right? Like,
I just
all right, we'll keep going.
Understand.
Yeah, let's keep him rolling.
You'd just be justifying.
No, I'm not justifying shit. I'm just agreeing with your point.
You'd just be finding something to point at to justify wrong.
The whole point is I try and take into consideration everything.
What? So he's trying to take into consideration everything he claims, but everything is not, apparently he's not considering any of the systemic problems, any of the systemic issues of policing, of slave patrol, police arising from slave patrols, Jim Crow. None of those things are considerations that he's making. He's making all the considerations for, how does the cop feel? Is the cop, in total comfort? If the cop is the least bit comfortable or has the least suspicion that anything might go wrong, then he has all the authority and discretion to just blow, shoot anybody down, to shoot them dead is his whole point here. Like,
narrative, the emotion, the law. Why not? What am I supposed to do? Just go off emotion? Emotions don't win games. I'm trying to win. I'm not trying to prove the police wrong. I'm trying to win. I'm trying to get black people to a place where we win. Where we have a society where we feel safe and white people feel that we're not just animals out to kill them, right?
Yo, I don't give a fuck. Let me tell you this. I don't give a fuck about having a place where white people don't feel like black people are all animals out to kill them. White people that are listening to this, if any white people are listening to this right now, I don't give a fuck about you feeling that way. If you feel that way, then that's your fucking problem, okay? That's your fucking problem, not mine, all right? I don't need to adjust my behavior because you got some shit you need to unpack about your racist ass, mindset. Like, that's not an issue that black people need to be concerned themselves with. That's not the world that I need to see. That's not what I'm concerned with. I want justice and a just civil society. And that's not what we have here. I'm not waiting around for white people to stop being racist for us to have our humanity recognized. Like, that is not an acceptable, we just gotta pull up our pants, talk a little, more respectfully, and then, then the white people will accept us into their society, and then they, that's all I'm hearing out of him. Is just
no other way to feel.
Like, you're just making, you're trying to.
There's no other way to feel than like he feels like he's better than people, and like, well, I'm smart and listen to me talk about this, but also I still can, rock because I got 6 Dracos at the crib, but also like it doesn't. Like,
exactly, he's got Dracos, but other poor black people walk around with Dracos and not be worried about getting gunned down by police. It makes no sense. Absolutely. And he also hit on that emotions and feeling stuff, and he was like, I'm not. Feelings don't win games. He said, it's essentially Ben Shapiro. It's essentially facts don't care about your feelings, essentially, is what he said. He was like, feelings don't win games, or emotions and feelings don't win games.
His whole shit,
I'm trying to win.
His whole shit with this, I'm trying to win, is like coalition building with like police, I guess. Like, what the fuck are you talking about, man? I don't get it. What do you define as winning? Like, I'm trying to win. So at the cost of what? So like we need to, you're not even trying to combat the fact that these people are racist. You're not even trying to acknowledge that. You're just saying, all right, yeah, they're racist. So we need to find another way to survive rather than tackle the institutional racism that faces us, or whether to tackle.
And we somehow need to change. Exactly, and that we somehow need to change our culture, and that's the fundamental change that needs to be made. Is that Black people need to change their culture, and their as if it's not white people that are controlling the media that has been pushing out this narrative for since the beginning of this country, since the beginning of of media in this country, that it's been white people setting and shaping and pushing out the narrative that Black people are the dangerous criminals, they're the thugs. Who the hell do they think is funding all of these productions and bankrolling all of this media that portrays Black people as these violent thugs? And then he says, and turns around as if to say like rap perpetuates that stereotype, when that's literally just people that are describing their life circumstances and their lived experiences.
They see, which I thought you did, but apparently not, Lupe. What the fuck?
And apparently, and acting as if rock and roll and other forms of music haven't glorified violence and Johnny Cash is one of them. Straight misogyny, violence against women, like white media didn't have a dude in the Honeymooners, I forget the guy's name or whatever, but he'd be like, one day, Alice, straight to the moon, threatening literal, I'm gonna punch you, I'm going to perpetuating domestic violence and them being violent, what about all the Godfather, Scarface, what the fuck are those? Those aren't white people. I know Scarface is Latino, but he's a white Latino person.
And on top of
and it's a white actor.
Italian dude? Is he Italian? Who?
Exactly, Al Pacino. It's a white ass dude. That's an Italian dude out here portraying a gangster.
Yeah,
it's celebrated whenever white people rise up, have revolutions. In America, it's always celebrated. The white people, the American Revolution, that shit's celebrated. Black Panthers try to rise up and have a revolution. That shit is stomped out and shamed and denounced. It's always okay and it's celebrated.
I always like to point out when we bring up the Black Panthers and when we talk about the media and the hypocrisy that occurs, you think about the Black Panthers doing what they had to do for their community.
Damn, Kwame, you got babies on the mind. I see you got babies on the mind there. Them Black Panthers, man. Them Black Panthers.
The Black Panthers. You talk about the Black Panthers and the things that they had to do coming together for their community. To protect their community, doing what had to be done. And they talk about them and they try to label them and make them look bad and make them sound like they're terrorists. Your Tommy Lasagnas talk about them. But then at the same damn time, they'll walk around here with their fake ass Sons of Anarchy shirts all the damn time, talking about how, the club did what they had to do to survive. And they watch these shows and they love these shows and they cry and they sympathize with these characters. And I love these shows too. We used to get together and watch Sons of Anarchy, but never at any point in their lives can they see what's happening there compared to what's happening in real life, of people trying to overcome these systems and these issues that the hands they've been dealt, based on things like redlining, putting them in bad positions. So how do you not see the hypocrisy you're dealing with at that point when you tell me that it's a problem with our culture? Because there was a very few amount of Black people on Sons of Anarchy. All right, Breaking Bad won't Black folk.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. That, and it's always they're more they sympathize more with the white gangster, and it's never taken and then said, you perpetuate a culture of violence, and you're in your music and in your movies, you got culture of violence and misogyny and all these things like that's all throughout white cultures, and in the history of whiteness in America is one of it started with the genocide, rape, torture, of indigenous people, and then slavery. And so the idea that white culture is somehow not violent and that Black culture is violent and criminal, and somehow we're more prone to criminality as Black people is some straight up Who's that dude? I'm forgetting that motherfucker's name now.
Christopher Columbus?
Used to be on Fox News.
Oh no,
no, that dude, but O'Reilly or
yep.
Something Bill O'Reilly. It's some straight up like Bill O'Reilly-esque shit right there. So all right, we gotta keep charging ahead on this thing so we can try to keep this to 2 hours, but I don't think we'll make it, but let's see if we can do that. So I'm gonna keep going on this audio here.
Emotion's not gonna win that battle.
Well, who the fuck is doing all the killing? When have white people felt not safe around black people? When has black people been executing white people? What history do we have of doing that?
There is
great fucking point, Royce.
Narrative in America that I agree with. Do I believe that the narrative is correct? No.
Whoa.
Wait a minute.
Afraid of the police.
I'm rewinding that.
Then am I
have white people felt not safe?
I don't think everyone caught that.
When has black people been executing white people? What history do we have of doing that?
There is
listen to this.
A narrative in America that I agree with.
Narrative?
Do I believe that the narrative is correct? No.
Whoa, wait, what? He just said there's a narrative in America that I agree with. Do I believe the narrative is correct? No.
What?
Which one is it, Lupe? Do you agree with the narrative or do you believe it's incorrect? Which one is it? Because you literally just said those two things in the same damn sentence. He said there's a narrative in America. There's a narrative in America that I agree with. Do I believe it is correct? No. That's a quote.
That is a quote from Lupe Fiasco, not Donald Trump. I know.
All right, we continue forging ahead here.
Well, I believe that the threat. Am I more afraid of the police than I am afraid of Inglewood? No.
Then you're goofy. Then you're fucking
man.
You're a goofy motherfucker if that's how you really feel, bro.
That's just the most anti-black shit I've ever heard. That's some anti-black shit, you know? And as if every place where black people are, every hood that black people are in, or everywhere black people are is apparently, you know, his vision of Englewood. You know, it's his vision of Englewood is everywhere that black people are being shot and killed by police. That's his vision of black people apparently in America. That's what he thinks that's his image of blackness in America.
Yes, yep.
Fear Englewood more than I fear the police.
Why?
That's just me.
Why?
That sounds like an emotion. That sounds like an emotional place to come to.
You have niggas. I mean, my people got their shit shot up. And you get the call and you gotta go, you gotta leave the studio right now because we at war. So I've been in those positions. Right. And it wasn't the police.
Okay, so
right, it wasn't that we did anything to a nigga, that I said something out of a pocket to a nigga. Is just pure greed or pure just we don't fuck with these niggas, not because they black, right? I stepped on a nigga's shoes, right? So yeah, I've had my interactions with the police. I've had guns pulled out on me by the police. I've had guns to the side of my head from the police, right? Laughing and smiling. So I've been there. I've done that.
The difference between those officers and the niggas in Inglewood you're talking about is your taxpaying dollars don't pay the niggas in Inglewood.
Royce just hitting them with some you know respectable shit. Like, yo, that's the difference. These are people who are supposed to be accountable here, right? Like, it's their job. We are arming these people. These are people that we are, you know, we have as a society the ability as taxpayers to determine in a democracy. If this were a real democracy, we should have the ability to, you know, have some democratic control over this institution. That we do not have that, you know, control over that individual person or whatever. And you know, these are the people that we're empowering. This is an institution that holds power, and that's the issue. And that's what Royce the 5'9" is also getting at. There is, you know, the difference of the fact that these are, you know, who has the power in this situation. The cops have power, and we're trying to make them accountable hold them accountable for the power, the outsized power that we give them.
A product of marginalized areas that they've been fucking subjugated areas that they've been marginalized to. Police officers are hired officials. They get paid by our taxpaying dollars. I know you pay your taxes because you'll be in jail if you didn't. And I pay my taxes. We don't get
right next to Nino Brown, you know, aka Wesley Snipes, you know, who this episode is named after. Yep. So that was a great point by Royce, who you know, when black people break laws, they get, you know, they are held accountable. You know, even when they don't break laws in this country, they are held accountable. So,
even when they're cops and they break laws.
So that's all we say.
Like, saying.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. So, yep.
View them the same. We don't get to put the shoe on the other foot.
But to me, if you just saying that I pay these niggas so they shouldn't kill me, you pay niggas in the street all day that'll kill you.
What I don't understand.
Same nigga that you took, that the same dude that you was hustling in the streets with, the same crew that you was riding around with, will be the same niggas that'll put you in the trunk.
Yeah, but that don't have nothing to do with what I'm talking about.
Niggas,
I don't have nothing to do with what I'm talking about.
It does. It goes down because I pay these niggas. They should be keeping me safe. That's not true in the streets. Why would it be true in the police department?
When you are paying those people, my very, very, very simple friend right here, who I don't know what you're talking about. When you are paying those people, you are, I assume, buying drugs from them? Are you not paying them for protection? Because that's what you do to the cops. You're not paying the motherfuckers from Inglewood to make sure that nothing bad happens to you. That's what the cops are there for. What are you talking about?
Yep, 100%. Can't say it any better, so I won't even try. Beautifully said.
That's our point of contention. You want to give the police the benefit of the doubt, and I don't want.
I don't give the police the benefit of the doubt because I know, for one, I know it's not all
I
police.
didn't think it was all police.
I also know that we don't pay all of their salaries. Taxpayer, everybody pays it. So Kyle Rittenhouse pays the police salary too.
What's the point of that point?
What do you mean? What's the point of that point? The point is that you acting like we pay their salaries specifically.
Yo, this dude really just pulled out a defense of Kyle Rittenhouse. Yo, Lupe has completely jumped the damn shark. Like, he has jumped the shark. He is literally out here doing defenses of Kyle Rittenhouse now. So this is this was hard to listen to at this point. Like, anything further, this was really hard to listen to at this point. I was done. But his point here is just also incorrect. He's just wrong. Like what we're saying is, we just want to be treated the same way that Kyle Rittenhouse got treated. Kyle Rittenhouse got the benefit of the doubt. Kyle Rittenhouse killed 2 people and shot another. And then what happened? He wasn't shot dead by police. He wasn't even arrested on the spot. There's a video that we played, We played on, I played it on the Radical Democracy show. So I played a clip on the Radical Democracy show of the footage from that night with Kyle Rittenhouse and in the events that they unfolded, all the video footage that they had of Kyle Rittenhouse. And at one point, after he has just gotten done, he had already shot and killed 1 person. He had then 2 people tried to stop him. He killed another one and then shot the other one in their arm. And he was walking away from that scene. Another civilian was walking along behind him and was screaming as police were approaching. He's walking with an assault weapon, an assault rifle, and he's walking down the street, and he's in the road, Kyle Rittenhouse is, as police are driving towards him, and he's walking with his arms up in the air because he's saying, he knows that he just did something wrong, essentially, and he's trying to surrender to the police. And while a person behind him is screaming to the police, that guy just shot someone. He just killed someone. That guy just shot someone. He just killed someone. And the police roll up, tell Kyle Rittenhouse to move out of the way so that they can keep proceeding on forward. And they proceed on forward right past Kyle Rittenhouse. And he just keeps on a walking. And he does not end up arrested that night.
The thing that pisses me off about this, and the point that you were just trying to make, is that we get killed for the littlest of fucking things. All right. In the best case, we can do everything right, like Philando Castile, and we'll still get murdered when we try to follow the laws, when we try to follow the rules, right? We can, in a best case scenario, we'll still get murdered. But someone like a Dylan Roof can go and shoot up a fucking church and then still not get murdered, but take into Burger King.
Yeah.
Can we get that treatment at the very least?
It's like we just want to be treated the same way that, Kyle Rittenhouse is 17 years old, by the way. So he probably hasn't even paid, taxes yet. So, which doesn't matter. I don't care. He's the child of somebody else who pays taxes. That's fine. I want my kids to be protected. They don't have to be a taxpayer. So even though he talks about you're a taxpayer and you pay taxes to protect it, whatever, that's fine. All that said, we just want to be treated the same as taxpayers, as fellow taxpayers, you know, or children of taxpayers. We want to be treated the same. And when it, you know, just not be murdered by the cops. Like the cops' job isn't there to kill people. They're not. Their job is to literally just keep everyone safe. Even the killer, even the person that just shot somebody, even the rapist. Yes, that is the cops' job, is to protect and serve the community. And yes, to protect those people even too, to make sure that they can be rehabilitated
from themselves.
Exactly.
Like, so what do? They show up to the scene of someone having a mental health crisis so they can shoot them to stop them from killing themselves? Does that make any fucking sense to you?
Yeah. I mean, we just had someone, I can't even keep track of all the names, you know, I'm forgetting a name again of somebody that was just killed. You know, just this past week, mental health episode, somebody having a mental health episode. I think it was in Philly, I believe. Yes. And yep. And you know, cops, you know, end up killing this person. So again, like what, you know, there are plenty of times where people were literally the only person they were a danger to was themselves, and cops end up killing them. You know, you're responding to a suicidal person. You don't go there with the last thing you should be thinking is to kill that person. So that's the entire purpose of you being there, is to stop them from dying, and instead you inflict that upon them. So all right, let's see if there's any more of this that we need to get to before we wrap up here. I'll keep playing it out. I honestly think that this is the part that had just broke me, and I don't know if I even continued on through the end of this. Yeah, but let's check through to see if there's anything beyond the defense of Kyle Rittenhouse that we need to debunk here.
I didn't say that.
Like, it's not a pool of money.
I'm saying our taxpayer dollars.
Our taxpayer dollars. Everyone.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. And I've seen white people get their shit split by the police just as quick as I've seen black people get their shit split by the police.
But that doesn't mean that just because that's what you've seen, because that's what you want to see. But it's not the truth.
You know what I want to see? I'm not looking for ass whoopings.
It's only true objectively in Lupe Fiasco's mind, is what I'm saying. You giving them more of a benefit of the doubt. I'm not. I'm holding them to a standard.
The police don't give a fuck about me. They don't fuck about what I say. I just so happen to have multiple police officers in my family. I've read the law. I've read the books.
I've read the law. I've read the books. Here he is. Here's that pseudo-intellectualism shit again. Like, if FL, if you still watching, he's still going on with it. There he goes with it. Like, I've watched it. I've read the books. I've read the laws. I've read the books. My family's cops.
What books?
I got caught. My daddy's a cop.
Fam? What books have you read? Can you present a single source to back up anything you said at any point?
Nope. He just
Lupe
talking about how he's read the book.
Somehow you stumble upon this and watch this video. Please tell us what book.
Apparently the books was like Mein Kampf, and like, what's that one where they like that one Steve Bannon's favorite book, I forget what it is. It's like the one where it's all about like black people going and over and like, you know, kidnapping and raping the women, the white women, and like so if anybody knows, leave it in the comments. Leave it in the comments.
The way he talks
something about Saint or
cultures,
something.
It sounds like the last movie that he saw was The Song of the South. Is basically the way Lupe Fiasco feels about black people, is what I'm gathering from this entire audio clip.
Yeah.
Jesus fucking Christ.
All right, let's listen to some more of this audio.
I've been to the places. I've been in the streets. I've been in the whole place. I've been to jail, right? I've sat in court, right? I've seen officers sit up there and talk wild shit. I've been pulled over illegally. I've had guns pulled to my shit. I've had my chain stolen by the police, right? But I've also had police come to a nigga's rescue, right? I've also seen that the only option that niggas had to come do a situation was the police. So I'm not for or against these niggas at all. But at the same time, too, I'm trying to win. That's it. I'm trying to win. And winning means that I'm not going to get everything that I want, right? There's going to be some compromise, right? And there's going to be some shit that we don't like to stomach or like to see. And at a certain point, if we're not willing to accept that and get over that, then we're going to be in the same cycles that we were in before. And I don't.
Did this motherfucker just say we just got to accept and live with the fact that some black people just going to kill? Killed. Some unarmed black people just gonna have to die. Sorry, man. And you just gotta accept that. You just gotta accept that. No, we don't accept it, Lupe. We don't accept not even one. Not even one.
One's too many. One is too goddamn many. Like what?
Oh man, we'll keep it going because we're almost at the end.
I don't want to be antagonized to white people. White people ain't my enemy. Like it doesn't even matter to me like that. And I'm not going to put myself or allow myself to be put in a position like that just for the sake of some black identity code, that law that somehow I missed that other niggas didn't.
Who's saying that white people need to be the enemy here? Like, who the fuck is saying that? We talking about cops.
Yeah.
What is he talking about white people being the enemy? Like, nobody's saying white people need to be the enemy. Like, we out here literally trying to build left solidarity across all, across all the races, all the, just the intersection of everybody. Like, what the hell is he talking about being, white people being the enemy? Nobody's trying to make white people the enemy. We're trying to make
also some of my main homies, my main ACAB homies are white folks. So like,
yeah.
So they're white. Hey, we got white folk on both sides. All right. We got white folks on both sides.
Yo, what Lupe's talking about, I mean, this is just like straw man and just bullshit here that I'm seeing. Like, this is just a straw man argument. Nobody was talking about this. He's just bringing up, he's creating a weak argument to go and fight against. But, he's got nothing there. There's no there.
As if they're more street than me, or did more shit in the street than I did, or been around less shit than I have. Or I've spent less time in jail than they have, or some shit. I don't know what the fuck happened. But for the sake of that, I'm not finna just live my life in fear of the fucking police and constantly at some type of mental battle for trying to get them to act right. I can't even get niggas to act right, who I pay.
Sound like it's a whole bunch of stuff on your mind that you got to work out. I don't think about none of that stuff because I'm not scared of no fucking police. You ain't never got to. I'm never worried about them doing nothing to me. I'm talking about there's a standard that I hold them to as the police. That's all. I don't generalize all of them as bad, but I realize the things that I see, I'm not going to be so preoccupied with winning that I'm not allowing myself to see the truth right in front of my fucking face. I can't do that. And I'm not going to compare the fucked up shit that they do to the fucked up shit that black people do in our communities, because the two have nothing to do with each other. They don't.
At the end of the day, I mean, don't you both agree? People get shot. White people, black people. Do more black people get shot? Likely.
No, it's not likely. No,
not likely. It's a definite. It's a definite. I would give that to you.
Definitely.
But at the end of the day, don't you think police, the majority of...
Just to correct again, black people get shot disproportionately. It's disproportionate, more per capita of us. But of course, there are more white people in the country. For anyone that's listening and wants to, we'll try to make that point in the comments. I know there'll be some right wingers that will flow through in the comments and try to make that point. We know that more white people get killed in America because there are disproportionately more white. There are disproportionately more white people in this country. There are more. The majority of people in this country are white, and so yes, the majority of people that get killed by cops in this country are white. It just disproportionately happens to black people. So that's it. That's all that I want to make sure I said, and that we clarify.
Are actually doing what they're supposed to be doing, but there are a lot of bad apples out there. There's still racism, and when push comes to shove, if it's a black man going for a gun or a knife or something in the back of a car versus a white man, there is going to be a certain set of people that are going to shoot first because he's black versus because he's white. That's a...
Oh, fuck. I hope, because we play that audio, I'll make sure I got to because that little bit of the audio played his song at the end. They're going to hit us with a copyright strike on that. But hopefully we'll be able to just mute that part of the thing. So just remember that we're gonna have to mute that part. They have an option on the YouTube the YouTube videos at least to just mute it when they give us the copyright claim. So and fuck Lupe for that one too, because that'll be on him. But yeah, so I think that we unpacked it all there. That was a lot to get through, but we got through it.
It's buffoonery, absolute buffoonery. I cannot believe this man just tried to put forth any of the arguments that he just did.
I have a hard time even calling those things arguments, but yes, I agree. Like those are some of the weakest, most nonsensical, most just factually incorrect arguments I've ever seen or heard out of anyone on this issue. Like I've never heard someone talk for so long and just so many false, other than right-wing, like conservative, he hit every like right-wing conservative trope there is. And it was a mess to watch from beginning till end. That was an absolute mess.
Tragedy.
Yeah.
Embarrassing.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm props to Royce for still continuing forth. That would have been the last episode that we did together. I'd have been like, all right, dude, I think this is a mistake, man. Yeah.
We're now vibing, right?
Yeah,
sorry,
man. So, well, that was a mess. But any last thoughts? Any closing thoughts from you?
I need people to really understand again how big a fan we are of Lupe. So just
His
how much
music,
yeah,
not
his music, not
yeah.
him, obviously, because he's different than what the fuck we thought. But it pains us. Like when we say this is genuinely hard for us to make this video. We're for real. This was a holy shit. I still can't believe we had to sit down and make a video deconstructing the absolute disgusting propaganda, anti-blackness bullshit that this man put together. I'm both equally mad at his willingness to lick the boot and just give them any amount of wanton authority as I am for him to slander and disrespect black people and our culture and just who we are and the things that we've gone through. What the fuck happened to you, man? Where you end up in that place where you ever feel that way about us is my question. As a person, you have a fucking podcast, but clearly you've done okay. So what happened to you that you feel that way? That's all I want to know.
Yeah, well said, man. Like that burns me, like it just burns me out. Like I just listened to that 20 minutes of that, I am burnt the fuck out. I've said all I need to say along the way. Anyone who hasn't done so already, I need you to immediately hit the like button. You better have liked what we just had to suffer through. I mean, we do it for you, the people. And so sorry to make you suffer through with us, but misery loves company. And I'm glad that we could take this journey together. Shout out to everyone in the Patreon community. Thank you so much for allowing us to do the damn thing like this. Please, if you haven't done so already, and you can afford to do so, support the show. Patreon.com/raisedfistmedia. Links are in the description box below, as always. So please open that description box up, hit that link, donate as low as $1 a month, and we will deeply, deeply appreciate the support. We will shout you out on stream. Kwame, make sure that you keep an eye on the Patreon just in case we get a new subscriber. Let's always keep an eye on it just to make sure we give them the shout out. If we don't catch you on this one, we will shout you out on the next one. So don't worry about that. So, all right. Thank you to
haven't checked this out already. Definitely stop by our Twitter at Raised Fist Media, all one word. If you are not following us, check us out at twitch.tv/Raised Fist Media. Definitely follow us when you can. We've got a whole bunch of great things coming up.
Yep, absolutely. And shout out to super producer Tammy. She had to take off because we ran so late, but she is always in the background just doing amazing things and making this all happen. And so thank you to super producer Tammy for helping us out to run the show there tonight. And so, yes, I think that's about it. We can wrap things here. Again, like, subscribe, share, hit that like button right now. You got to do it right now. That's the number one favor we ask you. Just hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this out far and wide. We need your support. We're independent Black left media, and we need your support to continue to exist and to grow. So please support us in whichever way you can. Thank you so much to everyone. I do believe we picked up one new subscriber on YouTube tonight. So thank you to our newest subscriber. I don't know exactly who you are, but thank you, whoever you are. We appreciate you. All right. Any closing words before we go, or shall we?
If you have not one last time, like and subscribe. We have some great stuff coming up this November very soon. We will be doing a ton of streaming for the Extra Life Gaming marathon. We will try and throw links in the comments at some point for that. Make sure that if you can, you go donate. The proceeds will be going to our local Boston Children's Hospital. And I'll be doing a 24-hour marathon. I'll have some great friends. I know that Kamali will pop on there. Our buddy Dave will pop on there. We'd love you to subscribe to our Patreon for as low as $1 so you can join our community and come game with us. We would really appreciate that. And we'll make it a thing. We got some good stuff coming down the pipelines for y'all.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us tonight. You can check me out at Radical Democracy as well, Radical Democracy Show. And Kwame will be joining me next Tuesday on November 3rd, Election Day. It's going to be a long day, people, and I hope that you spend it with us. Kwame will definitely be spending some time, hopefully both pre and post election polls closing, but really those results are going to take a while to roll in. So we're going to be doing coverage all night long. Kwame will be joining me for a good chunk of that, I hope. And so we, check that out. Keep an eye out. We'll be streaming that to Radical Democracy, and maybe we'll throw it up here as well, just to have it streaming to all of our platforms. But that will definitely be over at Radical Democracy. We'll be hosting it. So keep an eye out for that. Look for our Election Day special coverage. And thank you so much to everyone who joined us tonight. And we will see you again soon.
Appreciate you.
Peace.